Hey, what's going on, people? It's Tuesday the 10th of what? November? What are we in? Oh my God,
It's my
November.
birthday month.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Congratulations. November 10th, 2020. And Dan isn't here, but we're over here at Post Effects with Dean. And I got to give the Bitcoin price. So sorry. Hold on. Let's check it today. It's been doing really well. Today's Bitcoin price is 15,315. And let's see what it was a week ago. It was 13,530. So we've gone up almost $2,000, $1,800 in 1 week.
I'm thrilled.
Not bad, right? So enough about me. Robin Hoffman, what's going on?
Not much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Actually, you were going to be on once earlier.
I was.
Which was fine because I got Desmond on that night, I believe.
Yeah.
And that was a good thing because Desmond was like, and finally he just said yes. Oh, is that me?
Yeah, that
was me. Yeah. So, so you feeling good? You brought us something?
I did. I made you some vegan chocolate chip cookies. Now you're just vegetarian, correct?
I can eat dairy, but lots of times I eat vegan.
I did not put
So I'm
dairy
down
in
with
these.
that,
Do you
yeah.
want to try it?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, so I put some salt crystals on some of them.
Oh, I love it. I'll
you
take
do?
the
You love
salt
it?
ones.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So can we show the audience that Dan couldn't make it?
Yeah, which I'm really upset about.
But we have a little representation of him. Oh, that's beautiful. Wow, that is some cookie.
You got to show that cookie.
Oh, Dan. There's Dan. He's not getting a cookie.
Dan.
Let's see if he writes in.
I'm so upset. Dan, you want a cookie?
Okay, so this is more cookie, though, than I thought. Where is that? This is a big, thick cookie.
It's a big cookie.
And it does have big, giant salt crystals on it. Oh, wow. I like the
Himalayan.
salt. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when you're vegetarian and vegan,
yeah,
you're used to food not being what you used to when you were a kid and whatnot.
Yes.
That's a damn good cookie.
Yes.
Cookie.
You want a cookie? You want salt on yours or no?
No, I'll just take one.
Okay.
Unsalted.
Dan's like, cookie.
I'm not sure. There might be salt on that one.
Wait a second.
Does Joe want one?
George, cut the.
Cut the Dan.
Cut the-
Dan, here's your cookie,
The
Dan.
cookie you could have had.
There's your cookie, Dan. Yummy, yummy. I like cookie.
Here, Dan, for Joe. Yeah. We take care of everyone around here. We take care of everyone around here. All right. So enough about
Okay, so
you.
while we do that, enough about me. So let's talk about you and what you do and why you're here. And so we met. Let's talk first quick about how we met. We met here in this building for the first time, I believe, right?
We met here in this building. Yes.
Right outside the door of the studio.
Right outside the door.
And you were like, "Hey, you."
And I was like, "Hey, I was going to Wawa. I just want to talk to somebody. Will you be my friend?" No, that's not what
No,
happened.
not exactly, right? Because you were like, "Hey, I know you. You have that show."
That coconut flour in those cookies?
Coconut oil.
Coconut oil.
And you said,
coconut.
"I have a podcast.
Yes.
And why don't we?
Right.
Why don't I go on
said,
your podcast
You got a
and you go on mine?"
podcast. I got a podcast.
'Cause,
Why don't we
you know,
podcast with each other?
Because the one thing we both know is the worst part about podcasting is getting the guests.
You know what? That might be your problem, Joe. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, when I first started, that was an issue trying to grab people, but now people want to be on my show.
It's not that it's
luckily,
a problem. The problem is figuring it out,
Scheduling and
getting it into my lifestyle. Because you have to spend more time on it than I would prefer to. Wait, someone's calling in. Hello? Hello? We got someone calling in. And I took it.
It doesn't look like you took it. Oh, yeah, you did take it.
I did. Hello? Do you guys got to pipe this person in?
Shouldn't be piped in.
I don't know. I don't got nothing. Yeah, hello? Oh, I hear something. Where are you?
Yeah, I hear something too.
Is it Dan?
I don't know.
I don't know, dude. We got nothing on you.
Are they on speaker?
I don't think so. It doesn't even have availability
look
for
at that.
speak. He hung up. He
All
hung
right.
up. Cookie. So no, it's not that I have a problem of people saying yes or not knowing enough people. It's that I don't have what's zipping now. Oh, now he's over here. All right. All right, let's try it again. What's up, dude? Cookie. You're missing out. Can we go to Dan's
We
picture,
gotta go to
please?
Dan.
I want cookie.
Did you see the little picture of yourself?
Did you draw that?
I did. I drew it myself.
Oh, you better save me some of them cookies.
All right, no problem, dude. How you feeling?
Egg roll.
Egg roll, double-sided Scooby snacks over here.
Yeah, I'm not feeling so good, man. I'll be all right though.
Yeah, you don't sound good,
We'll
dude.
feel better.
All right, well, if you have anything to say, you can either write it or call in on this line.
Yeah, the other one, I don't know what happened there, but I don't know. I called it.
It happens. It's fine.
I want a cookie though.
It's funny. I knew the cookies were coming in. I was gonna bring milk, like almond milk, and I forgot to.
Mm.
I don't think I can drink milk right now. It'd be too much, too funny.
I got to get this conversation started though,
gonna
so she
ask
can
if-
talk and I can eat cookie.
All right, bye.
All right, later.
Oh.
Ugh. So no,
Hi.
I know, right? So I don't have a problem getting guests. I have a problem scheduling them out a month in advance and all that other
Mhm.
crap. It's a pain in my nuts. But I also do that for a living because
And
my
scheduling,
scheduling is like,
Mhm.
you know, I always know my schedule,
Yeah.
you know, many moons in advance.
Yes.
And I'm very careful, even in my daily business as a mobile dog groomer, to not overextend myself,
Mhm.
because there's no worse pressure for me than to know that I'm booked in May, you know, and it's now
Right.
November.
Mhm.
So that's what I have the problem with.
So I have
is-
a program that allows me to do that. I just use Calendly, and
Yeah.
I send out the link. People find a time that's good for them. They sign up. It schedules it, puts it on my calendar, puts it on their calendar. And
yeah,
we're good to go.
yeah, and then you just forget it, set it, and forget it.
Yep.
And you send them a link because I have a business calendar
Mhm.
that I pay for, that I use for the business and whatnot. And it's my schedule, Dan's schedule, and another guy's schedule. But you know what? Can you guys turn down your microphones? But sorry, Dean, you chewing too loud. So
Joe, maybe we should tell people what my podcast is about.
yeah, go ahead.
You think?
Yeah.
Should we do
What
that?
is your podcast about?
Oh, what is my okay?
Yeah. It's your turn now. Enough about me. Go ahead.
So I actually have two shows.
Yes.
Yay, because shouldn't everybody have two
Why
shows?
have
And-
one when you can have two for twice the money?
Right. So one of my shows is called Bake With Me. Right. I'm a good baker, right? I should have a
You're
show.
a very good baker.
So Bake With Me, we film at Full Sail University. It's awesome. We have a great set, which we have not been able to do since COVID. So we're on a little bit of a hiatus. But I invite a guest with a disability. So while we're baking, they talk about their diagnosis and their challenges and their successes. So we get to learn all kinds of things, not just about baking.
So that's one.
That's one. I was waiting to see if you were done chewing.
I am.
The other podcast is called Chat With Me. So we have Bake With Me and Chat With Me. Chat With Me is just a one-on-one podcast, just like this. And my motto for that is that everyone kind of has a story. So it's ordinary people with extraordinary stories. So I'm really open to talking about any subject matter that I feel is people can learn from, or somebody might just want to talk about what happened to them and get that off their chest, so we can talk and people can hear it and feel just as awesome about the people that I have as my guests as I do.
And how often do you do that show?
Well, pre-COVID, I had 2 episodes a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had every Tuesday and Thursday. We had an episode. They weren't live though.
And you would do it over Skype, or you would have someone come in and videotape it like this?
Yeah, somebody would come in and they'd sit with me. We have our coffee mugs just like this, except my little Chat With Me mugs, and they would tell their story, and I would edit it. So I would be able to put in like photographs or videos or whatever the information they want, links, whatever they wanted to provide to me, and then I would put the episodes out.
But
like I
they
said,
were
every Tuesday or Thursday.
and they were fairly short though.
Very short, really. I mean, it really depended on the topic.
Yeah.
So if somebody had a lot to say and I felt like it was going, great, then we would do that. But it was really to tell a specific story. So if they were done in 10, 15, 20 minutes, we were done.
So how long did you do that for?
Probably, I think we had the 1-year anniversary right when COVID
Oh, wow.
really hit. So I tried to do it virtually. I really feed off people's energies. So it just didn't work for me. And I didn't want to
So did you hit your
jump on.
100th episode?
I think I had like 85.
Oh, wow.
I want to say something like that.
And twice a week you did it at your home or you did it at a studio?
I have
You did it at
a
your home?
studio at my home.
Oh, you do?
Mhm.
And you have the full family, everything going on. You have kids and all?
I have 5 kids.
Yeah, I see on Facebook, you have a whole big family thing
I do.
going on, and you still niched out a little time to do this twice a week in your home.
Yes. Well, like I said, I edit them, so they weren't live. So I would take a day and I would just book out hour by hour. I would have guests coming in like all day and film 5, 6 episodes in one day.
Oh, and then you wouldn't
And
do
then I
it
would
again
just
for a
edit
couple
them.
of weeks.
Right.
Oh, wow, that's kind of cool.
Mhm.
And as you would edit them, you'd put them out.
Yes.
What formats do you put them out on?
Facebook, YouTube.
Oh, okay.
That's
So
all.
you don't
Just-
use like a streaming thing where they go out, you plug it into one and it goes out to everything.
No.
And but now what made you get into that? Because you were doing the other one much longer, the Bake With Me?
was about a year longer.
Oh, okay. So it's about a 2-year-old
Yeah.
show.
Yeah. Yes.
But I thought that you had told me that you were in broadcast before that.
No. So I worked with people with disabilities for 27
Yeah, that I
plus
remember we
years.
talking about. But I thought
Mhm.
you were in broadcast as well, though. No,
No, I just have that kind of
it
personality.
was that. I know, right?
No, I did improv
Oh, you did.
for
So
few
you're in a
years.
film that Danielle is in, and the guy who runs like the improv class, right?
Wow.
What's
Yes.
the name of the movie?
So the
you just
movie
came
is
out?
called Unmasked,
Yeah,
and I wrote it.
yeah.
And
You
I,
wrote that?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know you wrote it.
Yes.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool. And then, were you taking classes at what's the name of the place?
No. So I met Ali.
Ali.
Because I was actually helping one of my good friends, James Yan. He's a comedian and he has a late night talk show host called The Lowdown with James Yan. And I was doing some BTS photos for him, and Ali was a guest. So I met
Ah.
him there and invited him to be on chat with me. And he came on chat with me. And then when I wrote Unmasked, he's a very good actor. And so I reached out to him and said, "Hey, this is what I'm doing. Are you interested?"
And
he
you
said, "Yes."
you also slipped BTS in there. You
Yes.
also are a photographer.
Well, I kind of just dabble in everything. Yes. I
Yeah,
do-
the list is growing quickly,
It is.
and you're
I
throwing
love
them
to-
away. You don't even
I
take
just
credit for them.
whatever,
You're
it's
like,
fine,
"Ah,
whatever,
Yeah.
I just love the whole process of all of this. I love all of the behind the scenes stuff. I love being on set. So if you want me to come on set and change your garbage, I'll come on set and change your garbage. If you want me to come on set and direct the entire thing, I can do that too. So I just
Oh,
love
wow.
to be a part.
And
it all.
what part of the world are you from?
New York. I'm from Long Island,
Oh, you're from Long Island.
Long
Where in
Island.
Long Island?
Nassau County.
I'm from Nassau County as well.
Right.
And how long have you been down here?
Forever. We moved here when I was 10, 11.
Oh,
very
okay.
young. Yeah.
Okay.
But I still have family there.
What
They might
part-
be watching.
Really? What part of Long Island?
So I was born in Belmore,
Okay.
or Oceanside Hospital, but
Okay.
but I have family in Jericho, in Queens, and all
She
over the
was
place.
representing Queens. Or what was that? What's the line? She was representing Queens. I was raised out in Brooklyn.
My mother was raised in Brooklyn, went to Erasmus High School.
Yeah, I was born in Bethpage and moved around. Lived in New York City. I worked in Queens and Brooklyn, and I just left Seaford about 5 years ago now.
Oh wow.
Just over 5 years ago. So Seaford is
There's
2
a big
towns away
difference
from
here.
Belmore. There's a huge difference here in so many ways. The rich people feel comfortable driving F-150s, whereas where I'm from, you never saw an F-150.
Now, are the dogs the same?
The dogs are not the same, and the dogs' problems are not the,
the
same.
dogs, yes.
The
right.
dogs have problems up down here that they didn't have up
Yeah, I know.
there. But it's okay. They're all great. But no, the problems are different. And then learning how to help people
Mhm.
help their dogs solve those problems is a little different.
Yeah.
But, oddly enough, so we should go on to the baking show. But I actually, a couple of things I'd like to know. What are the greatest impacts so far of the guests on both shows?
Wow.
So you talk about, so you have 2 incredible shows, right?
Yeah,
These
I
are
think so.
Yeah, these are kind of incredible shows. They're inspirational in a way that most people don't extend themselves.
Mhm.
Most people are me, right? Which is why I named
Which
the
is-
show Enough About
Well,
Me.
so what's funny
know.
about that is that I did name them Bake With Me and Chat With Me, but it is totally
But not about
me.
you.
Like not about
Yeah.
me at all. And I don't want it to be about me. I'd prefer it not, to
Yeah.
be about me. We did an entire episode on celiac disease and I never mentioned anything about my own experiences at all because it's not about me.
Yeah.
It's about my guest. But yes, so being in the field for so long and working with so many different variations of different disabilities, and I have a child on the spectrum as well. I specialized in autism. I have a huge story about that, which I'll have to tell at some point, because people know me now in the production world, but they don't know everything that I've done in the world of disabilities, which was so important to me for so long. And when during that time, I realized it really wasn't the person with the disability that was the issue. It was everyone around them that didn't understand them that made their world so much more challenging. So I thought, what can I do for people to see and hear and watch people with disabilities so they can recognize it and say, oh, you know what, maybe it's that. Like if I'm standing in the grocery store next to somebody with autism, maybe I might think, oh, wait, maybe he has autism. Maybe it's not, what I think it is, whatever judgment, you might have. So that really was my goal when I thought about doing the baking show. It really didn't sound right on paper. You're like, okay, I have celiac disease. I want to teach people how to, bake gluten-free. I've been baking for years. It took me a very long time to develop these really, really tasty treats. There's so much junk out there that just doesn't taste good. Or you'll pay an arm and a leg. You could pay $5-6 for one cupcake just because it's gluten-free, when you can make a whole, 24 cupcakes for that same price.
I gladly pay it though.
You'd pay
Sometimes,
it?
sometimes I pay it.
What would you pay for that cookie?
I kill for a cookie. I don't think that. I don't know if I could. This is definitely a $5 cookie, right?
Come on.
Why not? Yeah. See,
Right.
you
And
might be
that's what you're
surprised.
saying. No, but that's what you're saying. And it really could be, but that's not what I wanted for my people. I wanted them
Yes.
to be able to bake for themselves
Yes.
in a way that was, reasonably priced and tasted amazing.
Yeah.
Fresh out of a bakery, this stuff really tastes. So I was like, how can I, share these? I don't want people to struggle. I don't want them to waste money. I want to just share these recipes with them. And then I thought, well, I can't just bake. That's just not me. I can't just bake. I need to do something else. So who can I invite to come bake with me? And then it just made so much sense in my mind to be able to show the world these amazing, wonderful, and capable people. And it's been incredible. You asked I'm going to pull these wires out. You asked earlier, what has come out of this, the positive.
The greatest impact that you've had. Hold on. So you could wind up approaching Full Sail about this, or?
Yes, because I worked at Full Sail for 5
you worked
years
there.
with students with disabilities.
Oh, okay.
I reached out to some of my contacts there and I just said, this is the crazy idea I have. And they were kind of like, well, let's just try it. And what it does is it allows students who are learning the craft of filmmaking to come in and work on a set in a real setting with real hosts and real guests and real, production. And it gives me amazing footage.
Yeah.
So it's really a win-win. But what wound up happening, which I never, ever expected from the very first episode, students would be coming up to me left and right, oh, I love what you're doing, or silently saying, I have this disability, or my mom has this disability, or, you know what I mean? Oh, everyone had a story connected with my guest, which was so amazing.
Yeah.
And then I've had some of my guests that are they say it was the best day of their entire life. And they've had so much support. Or I had somebody who came on and talked about their disability and they had never even told their friends about it. And afterwards they messaged me and it was just, I get a little verklempt. A little verklempt.
It's a little hot in here. Don't worry about it. I'm sweating over here.
It's so hot in here.
It's so hot in here, right? But,
but
they're busy eating cookies in the other room.
They're busy.
Next time,
understand.
don't give them cookies until we know the air conditioning.
Until
went
the
on.
AC's on.
Can we see if Dan is sweating? Is Dan sweating?
Dan might be sweating.
Can we see? Can he switch? He's not a great switcher. Joe's not a great switcher.
Joe, you're a great switcher. Don't let him talk to you that way.
The show just crashed, but you're still on, so we're just
Really?
her camera. So if we lose you, I'm gonna interrupt you.
It's just her camera.
It's just, huh?
That's okay. It's not about him.
It's not about me. If we move the camera, we can get me on over here. Oh, that's great.
So this woman messaged me after she was on the show, and she said she had never told her friends about her disability, and they had been so supportive, and she was just amazed at how it literally just changed her life just from coming on the show. Like the most amazing thing.
But she had a full, like, is it, so define disability, because if you have celiacs, I don't consider you disabled.
Well,
Like,
having
so
a
explain that to
disability
me.
and being disabled are two different things. So having a disability just means something that impacts your life, your daily living.
Okay.
Something that affects you on a daily
Okay.
basis. So celiac absolutely
Yeah,
affects
absolutely,
me on a
yeah.
daily basis. So that doesn't mean I'm disabled.
Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
that make
yeah,
sense?
Yeah,
They're
it does.
They're not.
So I've
interchangeable.
chosen one though. Like I've chosen to be vegetarian and worse vegan. So
That's a lifestyle. That's
Oh,
not.
that's not a disability?
That's not a disability.
because some of my friends think so.
Yeah.
Somebody was over my house the other day, and I was like, "Hey, you hungry?" Like he was there for a little while. We were working on a film, whatever, and he's like, "No." I'm like, "You sure? Come on, like give him some chips, some hummus." And he just turns to me, he's like, "Dude," he's like, "I need meat." I was like, "I can't help you."
You got meat or potatoes. That's all I want.
Yeah.
Meat or potatoes.
Yeah. But a good guy. It doesn't bother
Yeah.
me. Yes, I am Sweaty Peretti, and the show stopped like 3 times, and now no video.
No video?
There's no video stream going out.
Well, there should be.
They're trying, dude. We have
Can you guys see us?
for those out there
Message us.
listening. There's a little bit of a glitch in the other room. What is
Oh,
that?
there's video. That's
That
me.
you? I don't see a problem over here. Carrie Merkel, what's up, dude?
Tell Dan to get off his flip phone.
I know, yeah, because I have a feed right here. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
I want to share one more story with you, if that's
I want to
okay.
share lots of stories with you,
Okay.
but go ahead, please go ahead.
Yes. So, like I was saying from the very first episode, I actually had one of my children on.
Okay.
She has a rare disorder called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and we did the episode. And a mom, this was not anyone connected with me, somebody in a whole nother state messaged me and said, and I really do get emotional every time I tell this story. She said, my 13-year-old daughter has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and she had never met anyone else. She said, we sat on the couch together and watched your show. And she said, Mom, she's just like me. And it was like, I'm like, this is why I'm doing this. That was my very first episode. It was like, okay.
Your very
this
first
is
episode.
Very first. So I said, that's it. This is why it was so validating. I'm like, if I only impact one person every episode, then I'm doing my job.
I agree 100%, to be perfectly honest with you. I think that should be the cornerstone of what every artist does. If you only impact one soul and give that soul a glimpse of light for even 2 seconds, you should consider your job completed.
For sure.
So, so I'm trying to understand this though. Help me through this.
Okay.
Not everybody on the show has a food allergy.
No, but I
you're
can bake to their
okay.
disability. So
Okay.
I've had people on with diabetes, so then I can make a sugar-free or low-carb type recipe
Okay.
for them.
Sure.
I've had people, I'm trying to think of other disabilities where I could bake toward
And like
their
a
disability.
gluten
But
issue.
that's not,
and
of course. Yeah.
an
It's
egg
always,
issue,
it's always gluten-free.
a nut issue.
Mhm.
It's always gluten free because
It's always gluten-free because I wouldn't be able to touch it.
because you wouldn't be able to do it. Yeah. So so what was the most difficult one?
Disability or recipe?
No, the most difficult disability that you had to cook against, that you had to pair.
None of that's hard for me.
No, it didn't
No.
bother you. Somebody's asking what the name of that syndrome was.
Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, EHLER apostrophe S. Danlos, DANLOS syndrome.
And can you give us some of the parameters of that?
Yeah, it really it messes. She's in pain almost every day of her life, which is awful. It messes with your connective tissue and her joints and stuff. Typically, people with Ehlers-Danlos are hyperflexible, so they're what's it called? Double jointed is what they call it. But they shouldn't do, even though they can, doesn't mean they should, because what it does, it winds up wearing and tearing on those. Like my oldest son and my daughter have it, and they when they're together, because they're older now, they're in their 20s, They have syndrome offs. It's so terrible. And they'll bend and twist and see who can do like the most. It's not good. I don't recommend it. But it's funny.
So Thanksgiving is interesting at
Oh,
your
you-
place because
you have no
somebody
idea.
can reach around here.
That's
and
right. They do. They twist around. They
And
do
they
all kinds
can-
of creepy.
If they want the stuffing, they're getting the stuffing.
And they know that it gives me like the heebie-jeebies, so they'll like bend things, and I'm like, okay, stop.
So you basically have children that are like superheroes.
Yes, every single one of them.
I do too, but they can't flip backwards and do all that, you know. Okay, it's working. All right, the show's working. Too many cookies. I tell you, that's what they say. I'm just reading them off.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So okay. So it's never a problem for you to take on any guest and pair them to a food.
No.
So what's been? So first of all, Full Sail's amazing, right? They have a full kitchen in there
Amazing.
that you shoot in, or it's
We
a real kitchen?
did. It was at the beginning, and then there were too many shows that were filming consistently, so we weren't able to schedule in there. So we actually built a set in another studio on Full Sail property, and that was not a real kitchen.
Oh, okay.
Don't tell
So like is this just but you have water, or do you bring the stuff cooked?
I bring it cooked.
You bring it cooked, and
Yeah.
it's a fake this and a fake that, and it's fine. Listen.
It's the magic of
yeah.
TV.
We've exposed the wizard. So your other show. So okay, so we still haven't gotten to the most incredible. What's the most? Which one leaves an indelible mark on you?
It's so
Aside
hard.
from
It's
your
like-
own children, which
it's-
doesn't really count.
Well, that's the thing. It's like asking me to choose my favorite child.
I know.
I love every single one of my guests have been empowering and just amazing, and brave to come on a show and just while you're doing something else, just talk about yourself and your disability and the things that are hard.
Well, it's probably not something that they get to do often,
No.
especially if they're hiding it from their friends and
Mhm.
their friends and their extended family, and they don't really talk about it openly, and
Yeah.
so they're going through life kind of like, oh well,
Mhm.
and then they get this opportunity. They're brave enough to come on, and then they're brave enough to express it. It's
Yeah.
for a lot of them, it might be only the first or second or third time they've ever even put it into words, in
And
the
that
physical.
was part of my job for years, was helping people recognize what their disability was, and that disability is just not a bad word. It just is. It's what we have. It's what we contend with. It's not who we are. It's just part of what we are. And once you understand that, then you understand how you can make it more workable in your life.
Yeah.
And how you can actually enjoy some of the aspects or make it work for you.
And to not be embarrassed or ashamed and just sorry. Yeah, so because sometimes it's just so many stigmas, even like my own kids that don't have any of these, that couldn't be classified with a disability or anything, the stigmas attached to just everything. They're little kids and they have to deal with this world. And then even somebody I was talking to today, they think they have to be on this medicine for the rest of their life, and it's like,
Mhm.
all right, I could think of worse problems, what I mean? Like, so when these people get to express it though, it's pretty overwhelming.
Mhm.
Like for them, do you have to like stop filming and let them work through it? Or
I haven't. Sometimes at the beginning, like I had a young man and I absolutely adore him. He has a seizure disorder and he was starting to get very nervous. Well, that's not good for
yeah.
somebody who has
Yeah,
a
he's
seizure
gonna-
disorder, because
yeah.
you might ignite something that,
Yeah. So, it's
So,
seasoned.
so I started singing and dancing, and I made him do like some
Aw.
like things, and we had so much fun that he was like ready.
Wow.
And I tell them going in, this is something I say every single time we have a show: you are more important to me than this show. If
Yeah.
you get up here and you get so overwhelmed, or you don't like it, or you don't like the way it turned out, you say, Robin, cut it, or we're done, and we're done. We're done. And I mean it. Like, that's it.
Incredible.
And I've never had to,
No,
but-
but you,
but I
you have
do-
a
I
way
would.
about you that's
Yeah.
comfortable for them.
but and that was my job for so many years, to get that out of people and to talk about it, and to me, it's not a big deal. I taught my kids when they were little, like, don't stare at someone. If somebody's in a wheelchair and you're wondering about it, go up and ask. And if they don't want to talk about it, they can tell you.
I've done that with my kids, if there was a situation, I would say,
Mhm.
no, let's go talk to them. Let's ask them,
Yeah.
because they would ask me. I was like, I have no
I don't
idea.
know.
Let's go
Yeah.
find out. Come
Mhm.
on, and
And
then,
they're a grown adult. They can say, no, I don't I'm not comfortable with that. And then we walk away. That's okay. It's none of
Yeah.
our business.
Is that how your parents were with you? Like, where did you
Um,
learn this way of
My mother was definitely like, love everyone and, just be open. So I think probably that's probably where that came
that's
from.
pretty good. I
Yeah.
can't say that, not that my mother isn't loving and open. Is she watching? Sometimes she watches.
Mama, you
but,
watching?
but I just come from a different generation where,
Mhm.
if a child especially said, "Oh, look at that guy," you'd be like,
Mhm.
"Shut up, be quiet." You'd be
Right.
told to,
Yeah.
to be less,
Yeah.
But I wonder about, somebody like yourself who is putting your energies towards the betterment of others,
Mm.
and where does that kind of thing come from,
It's been innate in me since I was itty bitty. I started babysitting at the age of 10. Like, I don't know who would give me their kids, but they did. And like babies.
Really?
I've always been that nurturer, that caretaker. And then when I was in college, I was taking a course in behavior therapy. I have a degree in psychology. And the teacher showed, now this was before autism was a household name. So it wasn't really, people really didn't know much about it. He showed a video of a child with autism. And that I don't even believe that's what they called it at the time. And I went up to my professor at the end of class. I was very motivated. And I said, who, how, where can I work with children like this? How can I? And he said, well, there's a home for children with severe disabilities, up the road. I got in my car. This is a true story. Got in my car, drove to that place, walked in, asked for the manager. And I said, I want you to teach me to work with these kids. And she was like, okay. So I worked full time
How old
while
were
I was
you?
in college. I was 18.
Down here
18.
in Florida, in
Mhm.
Orlando?
At UCF. Mhm.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah. So that's incredibly different than most people's experience. Most 18-year-olds aren't like, oh, wow.
No, so I
know.
did that and I gained incredible experience there. I met lifelong friends because when you work with people with such severe disabilities, they were very aggressive, very self-harming. I got a concussion one time from a client, all kinds, you get bit. It's a very
I'm surprised Dan isn't
challenging.
coming. Dan worked in a similar place in San Diego.
Okay.
And yeah, he's got some wild stories about those times.
I'm so upset that Dan's not here
A
tonight.
little bit, yeah, because some of his stories, it's very difficult to be in these situations. And then, especially as dog groomers, we understand it as well, because sometimes, yeah, like you said, you got a concussion. Like,
Mhm.
sometimes they're physically violent and you have to use force against them. And, in order to win these situations, you have to use more force than
Yeah.
your opponent.
Mhm.
And it's very difficult.
But we're trained. We're
Yeah,
also
Dan did
trained
the
to do
same
that.
thing. You get
Mhm.
trained to do it, but Dan was in a place that I think something terrible happened, and it was a bad situation, and the kid's shoulder got dislocated by not by Dan but by someone else,
Mhm.
and the kid knew like he had done the wrong thing and whatever, and was like, "Listen, I messed up. You know what? We
Mhm.
did this thing, and him and the guy fell." And the kid got hurt, and they wound up
Mhm.
shutting down the whole place. I think that's why Dan lost
Oh,
the job or
wow.
whatever, but because they shut down the whole facility. And even the kid was like, yo, it's like I did this whole thing, but
Right.
it's a difficult position. So you found yourself in this place while you're going through college
Mhm.
to get a PhD in psychology?
No, just my bachelor's degree in
A bachelor's degree in
psychology. But then I
psychology.
continued and I became a certified behavior analyst.
A certified behavior analyst is not even
Mhm.
something I've heard of. Sounds like something Facebook needs.
It sounds like something everyone needs.
Yeah.
And it was amazing as a parent. Like, it helped me so much because
Did it
my
really?
kids had charts and graphs on everything. Yes.
Oh my God,
I'm not
really?
even kidding.
Oh my God, did they hate you? They had to hate you
No,
did you put up a chart and a graph?
stickers. It's stickers.
Oh,
and, you
like
know
a
what I mean?
reward
Like,
system.
yeah, for sure.
Oh, okay.
So, and I was very fortunate because I was so well trained. And then when I had a daughter who wound up being diagnosed with autism, it was like, I felt so fortunate because so many parents are lost. So that is what I did at the beginning. I would go into people's homes and I would teach them how to work with their children and write behavior programs and help them,
Oh,
be
so
successful in life.
so then, all right. So while in college you were working in
So,
a building,
correct.
but then later you
Yes.
started going house to house
After I got my degree.
and like writing up people's
Mhm.
ways to get through, because every situation is a little different
Absolutely.
and some are extremely different.
Mhm.
And you did that for how long?
I got into the school system pretty quickly after that. So I did some of that consulting work still in the homes, but once I got into the school system, I kind of stayed there for many years and just went to different schools. If I changed jobs, it was just to go to different schools. And then the last 7 years, because 8 years, I spent 5 years at Full Sail, and then the last 3 years that I did this work, I was at Seminole State College. So I went to the college level because the physicality of all of that gets a little tiring. It's a very challenging job. So, and I lasted a really long time. Most people last in my field about 5 to 10 years. And the fact that I lasted 27 is,
Wow.
kind of a big deal. But when I got to the college level, and because I had specialized in autism for so long, I was very fortunate while I was at Seminole State. I was invited to become a part of this group where we literally sat in this think tank for like 3 days straight from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and created the curriculum to teach first responders how to recognize and respond to people with autism.
My wife does things like this cup, and she was making a little sash that goes over the seatbelt
that says autism.
because first responders
Mhm.
don't realize sometimes that they're interacting with somebody who's autistic or some other special needs, and that person can't express it properly. And in an emergency situation, you don't have the time to figure these things out.
Right.
You need to know immediately
Mhm.
why this person won't get out of the car or
Mhm.
whatever it is, and it'll go violent quickly, like all sorts of
Absolutely.
things can happen.
And that is great that they have those now. When we wrote this curriculum, those weren't even out yet. So we would teach them to look out for things. A lot of people put stickers on their car. I heart somebody with autism, or
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know what I mean? Or
Do a
have a
little
puzzle
puzzle
piece or
piece, yeah.
something.
Yeah.
So look for those sort of things before,
Yeah.
but now those are amazing. Yeah, those.
Yeah. So it's amazing that we have to, as we grow as a race, we have to
Mhm.
constantly adjust ourselves
Yeah.
to the new paradigm of whatever it is. But so it was incredibly rewarding, I'm sure, for you, but it ultimately turned out to be an incredibly draining experience, right? So you say most people make it 5 years.
Yeah, 5
You
to 10
made it
years.
27.
Yeah, years. Yeah.
So you did 22 more years than the average person.
I mean, that sounds like about right for me.
Yeah.
But, I was able to put my hands into incredible things. Like being invited to be a part of that group was absolutely amazing. I was so just honored. And then while I was at Seminole State, I also started recognizing really quickly that I would get autistic students who would enroll and then they would leave. And I was like, why are all my students leaving? What's happening? So I actually created an entire curriculum. I called it Full Spectrum Support. And it was a social group, an educational group of students with autism so that we could help them navigate the school experience so that they would stay. And within the first semester, you could see the difference in the percentage of students that were staying. It was good. And
Wow.
they're still doing it.
Really?
And I wrote it so that it could be duplicated and anyone can do it at any school if they wanted to.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And how many years ago was that now?
I left Seminole State, gosh, I think it's been 3 years already. So yeah,
So then
probably
you
five years ago.
You took a little time off and started the cooking show.
Well, I was doing the baking show and started Chat With Me while I was still working. Did I start Chat With Me already? I think I did. I don't know. I'd have to do the math on that. I'm not great at math. But I had started it while I was still working and it became too overwhelming and I loved it so much and I was starting to make an impact that I was like, I really want to put my focus, and I have a very supportive husband. So he was like, definitely I'm on board. Let's make it happen. So
Wow.
my time is now spent with production.
So you finally admitted something you're not good at, math.
I'm not good at math. No, and I have to apologize to my kids
Like a
because
long
half of them got
list.
the same thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but we have calculators, so I'm good.
I gotta tell you, you don't have to know so much about math anymore. No. You don't really need to know much at all about math.
I'm not.
God forbid we get a solar flare and we can't use any electronic equipment, but
I'll be pretty messed up. Or, just whip out your fingers.
someone
and toes
near you
for
will
me,
be able
then
to do
I'll be-
it. Yeah,
I'll be good.
somebody around will help us out. We still have it written down somewhere. We could go back, but
It's
we're
funny.
certainly moving only forward. But so you all right, so let's go on that to Chat With Mia for a minute.
Okay.
Walk me through Chat With Me. All right, let's say I was a guest on Chat With Me. do you take anybody and try and find the extraordinary in them, or they have to have something extraordinary and then you go, okay.
Yeah, they have to have something extraordinary. So basically, people will reach out to me and say, I've been through this, or I've had this, or this is going on in my life. I would love to talk about that. So I say, okay, I tell everybody I'll film anything, but that doesn't mean I'm going to use everything.
Yeah.
And it's happened where I wasn't able to use certain things, but I've had, I mean, it runs the gamut. I had somebody who has come on and talked about sexual assault. I've had two, unfortunately, mothers, separate shows, separate incidents who lost their children. People who have been through grief, people who have created amazing programs. So it's like anything extraordinary, anything that can benefit other people. That is what I'm looking for.
Yes, Dan's trying to claim that he's all of that by saying that he was in your job for 10 years. But you did it
Nice.
27.
Good job, Dan.
So Dan's not that remarkable.
He gets a gold star.
He got kicked in the face a bit all the time.
That's how I got my concussion. It wasn't a kick, it was a headbutt. So he was
Really?
standing in front of me and he went back. So the back of his
Oh,
head
yeah,
nailed me between the eyes and I went down.
But was glad to be there for the kid. It was
Yes.
the most rewarding job ever.
Absolutely.
And now Dan works with animals. Dan, it was more rewarding than working with animals. Funny thing about working with animals is that, and this, I don't know if I would have anything that I would consider remarkable for your other show, but I can tell you that working with animals has been the greatest gift of my life. Because there is no common language, you have to have you have to develop a sixth sense
Yeah.
to communicate at a high level. With something that you don't have a common language with, and of course it takes forever. I've been doing that 31 years, I believe now, maybe 32, and
That's pretty extraordinary.
it's extraordinary because my field is also a 5-year. Most people get into, actually, to be in my business for 5 years is a big deal. Most people are 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
And then the 5 years, you're like, oh wow, cool,
Yeah,
like
like,
you
that's
made it
great.
5 years,
Right.
and then you get those of us that have done it for 30, and the lifers. And then on top of that, I'm a man inside of it, and it's literally like a 99%
Wow.
female world. And I'm inside of it, and I work with Dan and another guy. Now we don't work together. Each one of us is
Right, have
alone,
your own.
but the entire company is men, which is very odd for the business. But, even today I had a dog that was difficult, and because of his age, not a difficult dog at all. I
Yeah.
love the dog, but, and, the communication, it happens on a level that is very different than this, because it goes by touch and feel and sight,
Yep.
and animals have different ways of communicating. Like, I have to explain things to people all the time about, how these things work, but it's so much, human beings are so difficult. They're so much more difficult. That it's actually much easier once you learn an animal's language to
Yeah.
be in that world, much easier.
I love working with people. I
Yeah,
love figuring it out, helping, supporting.
language
whatever I can
helps,
do. Language does help.
but the layers of their own honesty with themselves is an
Mhm.
issue, where an animal is never honest with
Yeah.
itself. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, most people don't
know?
want to be that way, so that's what's good about helping them find the
yeah.
truth within
yeah.
that.
So what made you choose, though, to take on this podcast where, like, why that subject matter? Why do you go to, and how do you do that? Like, how do you just say, all right, you know what? I'm going to do this chat with me, and you're going to tell me something extraordinary about yourself. And then you turn around and start getting guests.
Yeah. I mean, really, it started happening. So once I had sort of a little bit of a voice with Bake With Me, I was kind of like, I don't want to just talk about disabilities, although that is where a huge part of my heart is. There are other subject matters that need attention. There are other people, because there were people who were like, I want to be on your show. I'm like, do you have a disability? And they're
Yeah.
like, no.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
But
So
I'm
actually-
Superman.
But
Yeah.
right. So Chat With Me started a little different, actually. We were filming that at Full Sail as well. And it was a panel episode. So I would sit in a chair there. I would invite 5 people from our very first episode was LGBTQ. I had the real life of stand-up comedians. So we'd have a group of people and we would have this discussion. But what was happening was I didn't feel like any one person got really any time to truly talk because
Okay.
there were 5 people there.
Yeah.
So it was challenging, although I love every episode we did. We did a veterans episode, um, professional Black women. We just had some great subject matters. And I just love those episodes. But I really wanted this. I wanted a more
Yeah.
intimate setting.
Yeah.
I wanted to really get to know people. So once I went up to my director and I said, I don't want to do this anymore. And he was like, what? This is amazing. Like, what are you talking about? I was like, I'm going to do it at my house and I'm just going to do one-on-one. Like, I don't like, of course, Bake With Me. I still want the full,
Oh,
you know,
okay. Yeah.
everything. But for Chat With Me, I just want it to be,
You're going to make it
More simple.
smaller and more
Mhm.
intimate.
yeah. And then again, like I said, once that started happening and people were watching the show, I mean, pre-COVID, I was getting about 3,000 to 10,000 views per episode.
Yeah.
So it was going, pretty good. So people were wanting to be on the show because they wanted to be seen or heard.
Yeah.
So I wasn't having a problem with guests at all. It was more about saying, hold on, we have to wait a few weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. And this
Whatever.
was on Facebook and YouTube.
Facebook mostly, but I pop them on YouTube, but I don't really even pay much attention to that.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
Facebook
yeah.
definitely, because we're an older crowd. YouTube is really more of a younger crowd for what
Yeah.
they weren't really interested in hearing the stories that were being told.
Yeah. Yeah.
But adults are. So
Oh, so you consider Facebook to be more for adults?
yeah, for sure.
And yeah, because these young kids are on whatever, Twitter and
TikTok,
Instagram and TikTok now, like crazy.
Snapchat,
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah. I actually prefer, for longer format stuff, I prefer YouTube. But Facebook, I don't try. I don't know what the hell I use Facebook for. It's crazy. Facebook
For this.
It's a Facebook. Yeah, I use it for this, but
For this.
that's actually Dean's choice. I could care less where it goes out. But
That's funny.
and we do. I think it does go out to YouTube as well, but I don't think we curate it the same as we do the Facebook channel.
Can you see if we have any questions or comments?
Yeah, no, I've been following, but
Okay.
you know what? It's in different places. Like people might be giving you different questions than
Oh,
mine.
yeah.
Working with the group home kids was the most rewarding,
Aw.
but he likes dogs. Is that the same feed you're getting?
No, I got some great comments.
Go ahead, let's hear them.
Danielle said, "Hi, Robin. You're one of my favorite peeps."
Oh,
Yay. Jorge said he wants a cookie. And then my son said, let me read it first.
yeah. Don't just shut it up.
I've used a bunch of her recipes as they are so good and they really help people with allergies and intolerances. Thank you, son.
Oh,
He's so amazing. He's such a great kid.
what's your favorite Sunday night meal?
I thought you were going to ask me what my favorite kid was.
No, that's terrible. No, I'm not going to do that.
They already know. What is my Sunday? Sundays are lazy for me. I don't
That's what I'm
like to
saying.
cook.
What's your favorite Sunday night meal?
My favorite Sunday night meal is a free for all. That's what
Yeah.
we call it.
Somebody buy me a meal.
Which you can't, by the way. Nobody can buy me a meal and nobody can cook me a meal. I'm only safe to eat from my own kitchen.
Oh, you have that severe.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
Oh, so you don't go out to eat ever.
There is one restaurant in Orlando that is 100% gluten free. It's called Fresh Kitchen. They have vegan options as well. They're very good.
I
Yum,
just
yum.
passed it today. Dan eats in there all the time. Dan, we
Yeah.
got a Fresh Kitchener over here.
So I can eat there, but that's it.
Dean, are you trying to chime in?
Hey there, guys.
Hi, Dean.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
No, I saw a question over here. I got to go read it now, so I got to hold. Hang on.
Okay.
Mhm.
Fresh Kitchen, no, you know the story of that place? That place has a whole history.
Yeah, I've read it.
So we got Crystal Alexandris is
Yeah.
asking, "Hey, Robin, what are you gonna do in the next 5 years?"
Crystal.
Is this someone you're
Wow.
working with?
Yes, she's
It's just-
amazing.
And
I
she's
call her
working on a
my-
5-year plan.
I call her my fourth daughter. Crystal's amazing. She is my editor
Oh, okay.
for really everything Bake With Me and for all the short films I've been doing.
Okay,
She's
cool.
amazing.
And what is your 5-year
And
plan?
she was on my show. Crystal was born deaf.
Oh, okay.
And she is now an Emmy nominated editor. Can you believe it? Amazing.
Really?
Yes. Gonna brag about you, Crystal. It's your fault.
Wow, that's great. So, yeah, how do you? I edit the sound. I edit the music.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's different when you're
Yeah.
born with a hearing impairment and you're like an Emmy award winning
She's amazing. She's
Yeah, that's
amazing.
great.
So my 5-year plan, well, I have now transitioned, obviously not transitioned, but added to my resume, writing and film, producing these short films.
Narrative writing, yeah.
So I've been writing my whole life. I've always written. It's just been something I do creatively. I just never did anything with them, just wrote. I do have 3 children's books that I've published. I just throw that out there.
I know you're like, I wrote my whole
Never.
life. I never did anything except those 3
Oh, you
children's
said
books.
there's
But
3 children's books that
Yeah.
are published. But,
that's cute though. Are they like illustrated and the whole bit?
Of course.
Who
yeah,
illustrated
the books. A guy by the name of Michael Sanborn. He's a very talented artist, Orlando based as well.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
And how well did they do? Are they self-published or they're through
Self-published.
Simon and Schuster?
No,
like,
yeah. They're that.
All right, hold on. Like the time the kid came to me at the beach in San Diego and asked me if I was Dan to have me hug him because I taught him to play drums and draw. He said he turns his life around because of me, and I cried. Oh, so Dan later met one of the kids that was in the home with him,
Good job, Dan.
and the kid and Dan had touched them in a way. A lot of times it's just love.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. As sad as that is, as human beings and as
Mhm.
parents, sometimes we don't give the right amount,
Yeah.
and it
One of the
messes up the
most-
kid.
One of the most beautiful things I got in
Are you
return.
cutting to Dan? Can we cut to Dan for that,
Go
please?
ahead,
When you
cut
get
to
back.
One of the most beautiful things that happened to me. He's not even listening.
Oh, Dan,
like
you're
you.
crying. It's okay, Dan. And when I see you again, I'll help you with that one hair on your head. We'll chop that off for you.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious.
All right, you have to start again. I didn't hear a word you said.
I understand.
There you go. You starting to get used to me?
I'm getting used to
Cool.
you. So I was just going to say one of the most beautiful experiences I had was working with a young lady who was deaf. And when you are born hearing, you don't have a sign name, and it's appropriate for somebody who is deaf to give you your sign name.
Oh.
And so what she did was, this is the sign for R, and she went like this, and that is the sign for Angel. So she put
Oh.
R's to Angel, and that's my sign name. And that means-
Wow. And that's also your logo for and it's you with wings, isn't that your
Oh, that's just my profile picture. That's just my profile picture.
Yeah. Actually, I love that profile picture. It's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, the
DeLand.
wings are humongous.
You just go
like-
to DeLand there. It's on the wall.
is
You
it?
just
It's
stand
on the
above it,
wall
yeah.
there, and you just jumped in front of it.
Yep.
Why don't more people do it though?
I think they do.
Yeah.
You just might not know.
I just
have a
don't know
lot
any
of-
nice people. You're the first nice person. When I met you, I was like, this is like a nice person. We should have this person as a guest, Dan. And Dan was like, fuck that. What are you kidding? I'm like, no, she's nice. And then Dan was like, I'll be sick that week.
Oh,
none of that's true.
Damn.
None of that's true. But me and Dan aren't nice people. And we
No.
don't come from nice backgrounds. And we didn't know nice people growing up. So when you
So
presented
you don't know
yourself,
what to do with me. You're just like,
no,
what
not
is
at all.
happening?
Not at all. Like I don't,
What is
and
happening?
yet I lead an inspirational life to
Mhm.
some,
Yeah.
But I don't find myself to be nice or inspirational at all. And Dan thinks I'm a dick. Dude, stop eating in the mic. Get some milk. I'm sorry, Dan. All right, Tammy Singer Fox, tell us more about your children's books.
Oh Lord. So everything I do, I was saying to you earlier that I really wish Dan was here because I was going to challenge him to like a rhyme off.
To a rap. I know. Yeah, you were
Yes.
like a rhyming
So
professional.
I am. And so my books are very sing-songy, rhymey, that kind of thing. So the first one I wrote is about being different because obviously I've always worked with people with disabilities and that's where my heart is. So it's about a circle, a square, and a triangle. And the little circle walks into class one day and everyone in the classroom are squares and triangles.
Ah.
So, the teacher pulls him up because he's upset and she tells him why it's important we have circles, and she tells him all the things in the world that we have that are round that we need. And
The teacher's a square.
the teacher is I don't even remember. So the square stands up
Sorry.
and says something like, "You are important that I can see, but I'm just a square. What about me?" And then they talk about
Ah.
all the things we have in the world.
And
that
they
are
rhyme them
square.
all.
Yeah.
And this
And
is
then the
geared
triangle
for
does the
it's
same
like
thing. Like-
2, 3, 4-year-olds.
3 to 5, 6, yeah.
And you wrote it while your children were at that age for
Yes.
them to
Everything I wrote for them. And I would just read it to them. And I did my own little silly illustrations. And then I
It
looked at
sounds
them one day
beautiful.
and I was like, maybe somebody else can benefit from these. But I'm the worst business person on the planet. So yeah, I publish all these books. I have stacks of them, and then I'm like, oh, you don't have money here? Just you have 5 kids here, take them. And I was like, literally, just like giving them out.
Well, I don't
But,
know. Yeah,
know,
that
what are you
doesn't
gonna
sound
do?
like bad business. It sounds like bad business from a financial
Trying to
point of
financial
view,
point. Yeah.
but it sounds like good business from a love point of view. You know, the currency in which you trade in is not green. You know,
I love that.
yeah, I
I
wouldn't
love
worry
that.
about
Somebody
the
write that
money.
down for
Yeah,
me.
it's on tape.
Oh yeah, I can go back and watch it.
You can watch it, but I
Oh,
don't.
the currency. Say that again for me. The currency you.
The currency in which you trade in isn't green.
That,
yeah.
but that makes my heart happy.
Yeah, that you know, take it. It's yours.
Yeah.
All right. So Dan says, I am very nice. Did you not hear my story, Dick? Dan, it's a clean show. All right. I feel like I am there. Probably because of
It's probably because of the drawing, but I do wish you were here, Dan, and I hope to meet you someday.
but all right. So I'm gonna chew on this in Dan's ear
Oh, okay, great.
for the audience and for Dan, and you're gonna run. What do you think? Can you do it?
I don't know.
Can you do it? Are you ready?
Okay.
No, kidding. The great thing about you buy the really expensive Himalayan sea salt. It's
I do.
actually pink.
hmm
You know, like I
I
have
do.
people like
All of my ingredients. That's why you're tasting a good cookie. They're all
I'm
organic.
with you. 100%. My
all-
house is 100% organic. You know, and it's like even the potato chips. You know, and it's like
Nice.
yeah, you know, like, I mean everything.
Yeah.
100% organic. Even my dog food is organic.
Wow.
My other dog was vegan, but he was older. He was late end stage, and he was pooping in the house.
No.
So I was like, "Oh, dude, you're going vegan because it's the easiest poop in the world to pick up."
Oh,
you know,
okay.
it's like
I didn't know
50
it changed the book.
It's 50% fiber. You know.
Okay.
But this guy is on I guess it's chicken and salmon, but it's organic. You know, maybe it's just chicken. I don't know. My wife, we get it mail order now. It's amazing what you can get mail order.
Yeah.
You know,
Everything.
but my poor dog had to
Yeah.
wait yesterday to eat until Amazon showed up. I felt so
Oh,
bad
my
for him.
goodness, you're
And you
so
know, the
funny.
dog is just sitting there looking out the
Mhm.
window all day anyway.
Right.
So then the Amazon guy, the truck shows up, and you know, he goes crazy. I felt bad, but it wasn't not like he goes hungry. I mean, the guy probably eats too much to begin with. So why? He didn't have breakfast. Like, what's the big deal? But all right, you gonna rap?
You really want me to rap?
Yeah, you can't.
I
thought
can.
you could. All right,
What do you want me to rhyme about? Just anything? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I like chicken. I was the answer, right? All right, go ahead.
All right. So Joe's sitting there and look at him chew. He's sitting here talking to a nice Jew. He's chewing a lot. It's very, very loud.
Is
I'm
it that
sitting
loud
here
over there?
Telling my story. I'm kind of proud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan, she's kicking your ass. Totally killed it.
If Dan
You
were
totally killed
here,
it.
I'd do even better. He'd be sitting there crying,
Thank
and
you.
his face would be wetter.
Oh boy. Oh
saying.
boy. Dan, you're out of luck, bro. I like chicken.
Chicken.
I don't know where that came from. Okay. All right. So let's do it. Let's pretend I'm on your show.
Okay.
Go ahead. You interview me about.
So
what's-
enough about me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Enough about you. No. I want to see. I want the audience to
Just
see how you run your show. So maybe they'll go over and look at it. So it is about you.
It is.
It's most certainly
yes,
about you.
I was teasing.
No, it's okay. It's okay because Dan's gonna make me eat all these words next time.
Okay.
So we gotta. I'm hedging my bet.
Yeah.
Can I get powder, please?
Yes, he's shiny. This is not good.
Dean
Oh my
does this to us
God.
every week. He's like, yeah, we turned it on. And then as soon as we got the door, he laughs at us. He's like, ha ha.
He's schwitzing in here. Can
Yeah.
I get a towel?
I'm gonna bring in my own.
Webcast.
I know. I'm gonna. I can start bringing my own towels in here.
So Joe,
Go ahead.
I
This is
understand that
chat
you've
with
been
me,
working.
though,
This
right?
is chat with me.
Okay, let's do
We're
chat
not-
with
enough
me.
about me. This is chat with me.
Chat with me. Go ahead.
Joe.
Shit, I hope she doesn't get anything out of me. I'm not ready to tell.
So you've been working with animals for a really long time.
Yes.
Is there a reason you can't relate to people? No, I'm just kidding.
There is. They're people. They're egos.
Mhm.
Animals don't have egos,
No.
not like
you?
people do. Oh, I certainly have an ego, but
Yeah.
I've been working. I've been working on chopping it down a little.
See how much you've already told me,
I've already told you a lot.
right?
Yeah. Okay, keep going. This is good.
He's
This
liking
is good.
this.
I wish Dan was here because he would say all the opposite things of me.
Right.
Yeah,
It
because
would be
Dan thinks he's
amazing.
great.
Dan is great. I've
He
watched
is
your
great,
show.
but you shouldn't think you're great. You should just be
Oh.
great.
Okay. So why did you start working with animals?
I needed the money, to tell you the truth. I wasn't an animal lover. I never looked forward to being in the business, never wanted to be in the business. I needed the money. It was good money. And it was something it was more money than you could make with the shortest amount of learning curve. But there was most certainly a heavy learning curve.
I was just going to say, you realized how wrong that was.
Yeah, it was a wildly wrong concept at the time
Mhm.
because it took 10 years, to actually become decent. Like even Dan would tell you, like it takes 5 years to learn how to like
Mhm.
clip nails properly.
Right.
Like a dog's nails,
Have you found that it's more challenging to work with the owner than the actual pet?
Not for us. For dog trainers, it's much more
Mm.
difficult because they're training the owner. They're not
Right.
training the dog. You don't train a dog. You
Right.
train the people to
Right.
work with the dog.
Sure.
So for us, the owner isn't around. But
you are dealing with what the owner has or has not done for their pet.
So I had a conversation last week on Friday with a very nice person who's happens to be a friend, and our kids are friends and all that, and we've been to their house for parties. And she has this dog, and life is difficult. You're home, your husband's home, your kids are home, everybody's home, you're running a business, all this is going on. So the dog doesn't get the proper attention it would need, and then she asked me to do something that I can't do. Like, it's wrong to the dog. So for me, I have no problem because I am a dick. I just tell people like, yo, dog first,
You really are
know,
sweating.
like dogs first. And then whatever your aesthetic idea is second.
Mhm.
So in that regard, it's not so terrible. But not everybody is good at that. And like, so I'm on Facebook pages with 25,000 dog groomers, and the things that they complain about, I don't complain about.
Okay.
But for a lot of people,
But do you think
people
that's
are
your level of
difficult part.
experience?
It's
Because you've been doing this for so long? Like maybe 15 years ago, you probably would have made these complaints if you had a forum to do that in?
no, and I don't know why. If it's like because I'm more of an alpha male, and these are not alpha female types, or like you almost have to be a bit of an alpha to work with dogs to begin with,
Sure.
right? But you can tell that I don't, obviously our world is changing when it comes to these man and female roles. But no, I never had a problem telling people you're being a jerk.
Okay.
Like you can't ask me to hurt your dog. I'm not here to hurt your dog.
No.
You know what I mean? Like you messed up. You had a financial
Mhm.
problem. You didn't pay enough attention. I'm not gonna hurt your dog.
Wow.
And I don't care if it's February in New York. I'm shaving your dog.
Mm.
And the other one that was that people would ask me all the time about calling the ASPCA. And I was like, no, I don't call the ASPCA on difficult situations because I tell some really rough stories
Right.
about things that I've walked into. And I'm sure you could too, actually.
Mhm.
Which is a subject maybe you don't want to get into because you deal with people, but I was
Right.
dealing with animals. So it's a little different to talk about them. And even sometimes have them be funny stories. And they're not that funny, really.
Mhm.
But they're funny the way I tell them. But anyway, you have to. I never called the ASPCA on people because the ASPCA would simply say you have to get the dog whatever attention it needs within the next 2
Mhm.
weeks, or we're going to give you a ticket.
Okay.
So it never made sense because if
Right.
I was at the door, the problem was already being solved.
Okay. Do you always have pets of your own?
No.
No?
As a matter of fact, most of my life I didn't. But I had thousands of customers. I've probably groomed 60,000 dogs.
Mm.
60,000 groomings, probably less dogs, but I've performed the task of what I do tens of thousands of times. So when I go home,
Yeah.
I'm done. I've given it all. I've
Yeah.
given all. It's not
I
the
do
same.
know.
Yeah, but you have
On
to go
a
home.
totally different level. We
Yeah.
are not comparing humans with animals.
You
at all.
can't compare, but yeah. So your situation was a little different, where you
Mhm.
had to work with children or
Mhm.
kids and then go home to
Into
your
my
own
own.
and also be mommy to them. So your level of, but I find that with mothers, fathers don't have as much to give as mothers do. My wife can give and give and give and give and give.
Yeah.
And, you know,
I could when I was younger. I'm definitely like, we joke now because my youngest, he's 15.
yeah,
He's amazing. But now I don't have the energy that I had.
of
Like
course.
the other kids got these ridiculous birthday parties because my creativity, we had like
Yeah.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
they, you know, constantly every
Yeah.
year. And now I'm like, oh, it's your birthday. You can grab a few friends. We'll,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
can
I'll
sleep
give you
over.
$35
You know, I
and
just
yeah.
don't have it in me
No.
like
No.
I used to. Because my oldest is 26.
Okay.
Yeah. He's my stepson. So I'm so blessed in so many ways, but I am a stepmother, an adoptive mother, and a birth mother.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah.
Oh, you cover it all on that one.
Yeah.
So how was it to adopt a child? How did that process go? Is that something you were looking
Sorry,
for?
Kayla.
Is that something that you
no,
can-
my story is very, I mean, I'll tell you if you want to hear it.
I do want to hear it because it's an
So-
incredibly noble choice. You seem to be making these choices over and over and over again.
Over and over.
So, or is it something like, how does
You
this?
know, if Freud was here, he'd probably say I'm trying to save my own inner child. I mean, that would probably be it. Honestly, I'm just being real. I had not the greatest childhood.
Oh,
I had a
okay.
very abusive stepfather, and
Okay.
I think there's a part of me that's always just trying to save that little girl, and I recognize that. But I also think who I am and who my mother raised is a very, you know, kind and strong and brave human being. So
Yeah.
I think that's part of where that comes from. But when I married my first husband, he had a son, a 1-year-old son. And so that's my 26-year-old he's been my stepson for 25 years. So he's my kid in every way. And then we had 2 kids together. And then when the kids were when the kids were 3, 5, and 8, he was killed in a car accident by a drunk driver.
Your
Their
first
father.
husband.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, that's terrible.
So when I met my now current husband, which was a couple of years later, he had a niece whose father had died right around the time my kid's father had died. So it was like we kind of bonded over talking about, he was helping raise her, and we were kind of talking about, you know, all of these things that were happening, and we became close, and he's an amazing man. And I married him, and he became really their dad, because they were so young, and they're really all they remember. At this point, I mean, of course, we talk about their father, and we always had pictures in the house. We had celebrations on his birthday, you know, everything for years. So when we got married, I recognized very quickly that my niece, his niece, who we had bonded over, was not being taken care of. I'm just going to leave it at that. So for years, she was in and out of our home, and we tried to do our best for her. And then it got to a point where we couldn't let it go on any longer. So we fought in court. She was legally placed with us, and about 2.5 years of fighting in court, she became our daughter.
And how old was she at that point?
By the time she was adopted, she was a teenager. She was already 17.
I'm so glad I asked. So we could ask 1,000 people their adoption story.
Mhm.
Um,
And it's
This-
always different.
but this wouldn't be it. Nobody else is going to say, well, this family came and was helping me out and then fought to get me for 2.5 years after figuring out that it wasn't the right situation. Like, that's not an adoption story, dear. Adoption
it
story.
is.
No, that's a save. That's a no.
It
that's
is an adoption story. It's, it's a beautiful story. Our family's so close. My kids, they're all so, like, we have so much fun, and everyone's super tight because of everything everyone's been through. 2 of my daughters is actually a funny story. My youngest daughter, who was not used to sharing, she and my other daughter are very, very, very different. So my one daughter, who's on the spectrum, she's just so brilliant and loving and kind in her own, and she was never into makeup or clothes or fashion or anything like that. So Emma never had to deal with that. And then when we brought Kayla in the house, they both were into like the makeup and the fashion. So it would be like, she took my blah, 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 blah. So they would fight. And I was like, I've never had to deal with this before.
Oh,
It's
wow.
the craziest thing in the world. So there was one day Emma got mad. She's going to kill me for saying this story. She's probably not even watching. But she said something to Kayla about me being her real mom. So I said, I put her in her place, like, because this is just who I am. I said, girl, I fought for you for 9 months in my belly. I fought for her for 22 months.
Yeah.
So it was like,
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. My own personal place in the world, emotionally for human beings is that I would have, oh, this is terrible. I'm going to say this and then we'll talk about it. I would have probably thought that the karma of that individual, this Kayla, is exact. Like, I believe the world is perfect. So, and many people don't understand that. And they think
Okay.
the world is wildly imperfect and children get hurt and people kill each other and all these things. And I think the world is perfect. And I think it's exactly the way it should be, or it wouldn't be at all. And so I have never been in a situation where I thought I needed to rescue a child from a terrible situation.
Mhm.
And I would like to think that I would step up. But there's part of me that would say that's the road that its soul is on for a reason. But you didn't do that. You did the exact opposite and said, I'm going to go after this until
Oh,
I
yeah.
win.
My
And you
time, my
probably had
energy,
money
my
involved too. Like you had to pay for a lawyer and
time, money, energy.
yeah. And you already had 3 children.
4.
4?
Mhm.
Oh, I thought
My
there was
stepson
3.
and my 3 birth.
Oh,
children,
your
yeah.
stepson and 3 births. So you had, so she's the youngest. She's the
She's
5th.
not the youngest. She's
Oh,
just the
she's
one
just
that
the
came
one.
in the latest.
Oh, because the last I heard we were at like 10, 8, and 3, and then we were going for Kayla.
Oh, okay.
Another one came in.
After I married my husband, we had my son Zane.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So when you got married to your second husband, and you were dealing with Kayla was already in his life,
Correct.
and then you guys got married and had a baby while you were getting Kayla, while you were going through the adoption process.
Well, we had Zane prior, but yes.
Zane, okay,
But
yeah.
Zane's never not known Kayla because she was always his cousin. She was always in and out
She's
of our
always
house.
in and out of
yeah.
the house for you guys would have for weekends or for like months at a
Months.
time,
Mhm.
and then go somewhere else for months at a time. And you said that
Mhm.
needs to stop
Mhm.
because, and you see this in divorces a lot. You see
Mhm.
the separate, the 1 week here and 1 week there, and the child is constantly dealing with one dynamic,
Mhm.
and then and one dynamic is always going to be a little healthier. Let's hope that they're
Mhm.
both healthy, but one's a little healthier. You were dealing with a situation that wasn't healthy at all.
But she is incredibly brilliant and kind and wonderful and successful. She's doing really, really well.
And how old is she now?
She just turned, she's going to kill me. I've got to think. There's 5 of them. Give me a minute. Math, not my thing. She just turned 24.
Wow.
Yeah.
What? It's definitely yeah, you could tear up. You could definitely tear up.
Yeah, I cried too many times. No, I'm just
You
kidding.
cried about it a million times.
No, I'm teasing.
All right, so go ahead. So finish it.
What else do I do?
Well, I took over your show. I'm sorry, I took over your show. We were on chat with
Oh,
me.
we were on chat with me. This
Yeah,
is
what
not
time
about
is it?
me.
It's not about you. It's enough
About you.
about me. You interview me now.
Enough
No.
about Robin. Let's learn about Joe.
No, so that's what you do though, is that you just get people rolling on there
Yes.
on what it is that's extraordinary about them, and then you turn out to be more extraordinary.
No, I don't talk about me on my show
And why not? Not at all.
because it's not about me.
You
No,
only
it's
do the
about-
interview.
Correct.
I should take lessons from you.
Yeah. Yeah. As a matter of, yeah, we can talk about that.
I should take lessons from you. Thank God.
Yes.
Be quiet, Dan. He says, I'm not that great. Dan knows he's great. He's great at many, many things, Dan.
Good.
He's and having been in that world that you were in, there he is. He's handsome too.
I'm going to see if there's any. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
see if you got any questions. He's a very, very easy person to talk to about incredibly difficult, personal issues because of the time that he spent in that group home.
Yes.
Yeah,
you
there's
learn a lot.
nothing that you can't talk about. And that's probably a great benefit for your children now,
It is.
that your children are comfortable to come to you with anything.
Really, honestly, yeah, at this
Yeah.
point, because we always have, and it wasn't just for them, it was their friends too. I mean, on
Oh,
any
really?
given night, one of my closest friends, Tammy, she would say, I would come to your house, I wouldn't even know who was yours because there were always other kids there. I've had other kids that have been at my house for weeks, months at a time because of situations. It's just, I cannot say no. Like my husband always will say, and he meant it, we will never buy a bigger house because you'll just fill it.
You'll just feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think then, like of what, so last week was an interesting week for our country, right? We went through this election thing and I don't want to get into politics.
No.
I don't want to get into that at all, but like you're the opposite of the problem we have in the country right now, where we've developed, technology and everything is so singularly about me, about each individual person. And then even as groups, we're able to be very isolated in our
Mhm.
thinking, So I think it's a tremendous blessing that you're out there doing what you do. But what did you think of last week? How does someone like yourself who deals with life on this other emotional level of giving, how did you deal with last week?
It's a good question. It's a great question, actually. And we did talk about it within my family because I walk the world very differently than most.
Yeah.
It's hard not to turn it toward politics. So I'm really going to
Well,
try
it's okay to say like names, like it's okay to say names and all that
it's
because
just-
it's fine.
just that I was explaining to some people who were going to vote differently than me
Yeah.
that these last 4 years have been challenging for me because the way that I walk this world. When
Yeah.
I see people in pain, I don't even have to see it. I feel it. If you were hurting about something right now tonight, Joe, I would feel it.
Yeah.
And I would probably get it out of you before I walked out of this door.
Yeah.
What's going on? How can I help? Because I can feel that energy and it hurts me. And that was one of the reasons why a few years ago I said, it's time for me. I still wanted to help. So that's why I'm doing Bake With Me. I still want to represent people with disabilities, but it's time for me to leave because I wasn't whole anymore. It was taking so much of me because when I sit with you, I feel what you're feeling. And then I've got to put that somewhere, right? So it's very hard to walk through a world when you know there's so much suffering. And even people who are not directly impacted are suffering. Everyone's suffering because of the fear of something happening to them
Yeah.
or one of their children or something, or their marriage not being potentially not being recognized anymore, or some, all of these painful things. Everyone's hurting. So I would walk into Publix. It's terrible, and I'm so sorry to say this, but there was a moment when COVID hit, when I had to stay at home, and I was almost grateful for that moment because I would never choose to do that. But when I stopped going to the store and I actually ordered my groceries, it was like this relief, because when I walked into Publix, especially at the beginning of COVID, when people were panicking and there was no toilet paper, I felt every single person I was near, and I would get into my car and just cry. And it wasn't my tears. It wasn't my pain. I was okay. I had toilet paper.
Yeah.
I had,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I had the necessities for my family. It was because of what I was feeling for everybody else. So last week was rough. Last week was rough because we didn't know for days and days. So many people hurting, so many people. One of my closest friends was just sick to her stomach the whole time, could not. And then, and I want to support everyone. So they're telling me how they're feeling. And then I'm just like, oh, I just want to help. I want to make it better for everyone. And I can't. And no matter what the outcome, somebody's going to be hurting. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that Trump supporters are hurting so much as
Some
they
people
would.
are.
I think that they're hurting, but I think that they enjoyed. I think they overly enjoyed the other side when they got hurt. I think they overly enjoyed it. I think it was a little disgusting.
hard to say.
Be
You
perfectly
can't-
honest with you.
I mean, of course, there's people in every group, every walk of life that have the not so great feelings and the disgusting things that you're talking about. But I refuse to ever group everybody into one sentiment.
No, of course.
Yeah.
You're Jewish.
Stop it.
Yeah.
That just means I'll make you feel guilty about something. What
I
are you
know.
talking about?
You tried, but it's not going to work. No. But no, I don't think that I had ever seen good friends of mine, good people, hardworking people, so incredibly happy about their political opposition in pain. And I found it disgusting. And I tend to be independent, and I only voted for one president, now two, who have been elected. Every other time, like my first election, I voted for Ross Perot Because I looked at the thing and went, what, are you kidding me? Like these two? Like, forget it. I'm taking that guy. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm taking that.
yeah.
guy.
And then ever since then, I've always voted, for a third party,
Okay.
just as a rebellion vote, just to be rebellious. But the thing about Trump is they let certain people be rebellious, and they needed that attention, and they were working hard for a long time and falling behind. And because of my position, because of my business, I'm in a lot of homes. I know a lot of wealthy people,
Okay.
and I know a lot of middle-class people, and I know a lot of low-income people because I groom all their dogs and I don't charge them any differently.
Mhm.
So I was able to be a witness to the people who were slipping down. It's one thing if you have nothing, you have nothing to lose. It's another thing if you have something, you're working really hard for it, and you're losing ground. And then it's another thing when you're complaining who's going to win the election, and then no matter who wins, you go out and buy a $250,000 car. And this is what I saw happening for decades, literally. And so I think that some of my blue collar friends who wound up having this windfall of Donald Trump land on them, I think they took it a little far. And I certainly wouldn't do that. But you're explaining yourself as an empath.
Yes.
You
But
know.
I choose not to use that word because I believe it's overused right now. I think people throw it out there left and right. And
So you made a conscious choice not to use the word.
correct.
Because I might agree with you, but I do know empaths that don't know they're empaths.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
It
it
drives
took
them nuts.
me-
It drives them
It took me
insane
years of suffering to
to realize.
recognize that. And even like one of my friends that I was talking about, Tammy, we were in a group setting, and I just looked at her and I was like, I do not know why I'm feeling this way. Like I feel like I just was feeling. I don't get angry very easily. Anger is not. It's just not an emotion I get easily. But so when I get there, it's always like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So I was like, it's everything everybody says is bothering me. I don't know what's going on, like whatever. And she looked at me and she said, it's probably not yours.
Yeah.
And I
It's
was
not
like,
your.
damn it, you're right.
Yeah.
And it was like, why would it take me that long to recognize?
I mean, it's difficult. It's really difficult to be
I
an
spent
empath.
years figuring out, just making shit up in my head to like,
Yes.
to place that feeling
Yeah.
when it was somebody else's all along.
Yeah.
But once I realized that, it's so empowering. And I visualize sometimes like this bubble that I try to protect myself, when I have to in situations.
Well, so then, okay. So now that, the last 4 years have been terrible for you as an empath when it comes to the
I'm not gonna
political
say
world.
terrible.
Not terrible, but
Yes,
when it comes to
harder
the
to
political
navigate.
world, it's
It
a
was
very
more-
difficult thing,
Yeah.
Um,
Your wife just made the most beautiful comment.
what
by
did
the
she
way.
say? She has powers? No. What did she say?
She
Oh.
said,
I didn't. I don't really know Robin, but she might be one of my favorite people. Oh. So here's the thing, though. So you've exposed yourself now. Now I understand you. Now I see the gears behind the face of the clock.
mhm,
Because as an empath, it's better to put 110% effort into proliferating love into the world
mhm.
and to getting so much love that everybody's in tears than for you to walk through the world and cry
and hurting.
hurting and
Mhm.
crying, so it's much better to give all
Yeah.
and to then live in the world that you've created around you and have it be beautiful and amazing.
Yeah.
And I think that it's probably a good goal for a lot of people. But if you're not empathetic in general, not an
Yeah.
empath, but if you're just not an empathetic
Right.
person, you don't go anywhere near that. It's this other thing. It's this me thing that we spoke about earlier.
Right.
And you know what? They're not bad people. Sometimes
No.
it's easy to be jealous of them, right? Because
Mhm.
they drive cool cars and they, what I mean? Like they have,
No, they walk the world easier than I do.
they
that's for
do.
sure.
They have an
Mhm.
easier day.
Yeah.
They have no problem
Yeah.
saying no to somebody and then going to get their
Mhm.
nails done,
Yeah.
and buying a $2,000 pocketbook when they
Mhm.
could be just as $500 pocketbook's pretty nice pocketbook,
Yeah. Never. I could never do that.
and they
I
have,
would never.
$2,000.
And if I did, I would give it to somebody.
Could you imagine?
If I ever bought something like that nice,
You'd give it away.
Ask my husband. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
wind up giving it away.
Yeah, but so they live a different life, but you wonder like where they are in karma wise, like in circles of. So I have a mystical path. So for me and for Jewish people, it would be Kabbalah. Like that would be my path if I could explain it to you in a way. And in that path, we would believe in things like cycles of births and rebirths, and karma.
Mhm.
And so I wonder sometimes when I meet someone like yourself who's an empath, who's really working towards having a world around them, about you've created an insulating bubble where you're putting out this tremendous love, but because you're in this dome, it bounces back at you.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And all the people in it get to experience it, and it fills up, this whole little bubble of
Mhm.
love, And I wonder what the difference is on that karma and what you've done in past lives, and your
Mhm.
energy that formed you as a
Mhm.
person, as opposed to the energy that formed that other person, where they walk away from the homeless person and they would see your daughter and say,
But you have to remember, they might not be walking by a homeless person thinking, I'm just not going to help them. They might just not see it or feel it. So as long as their intent is not to do harm, I think it's okay. I don't think everyone should have to walk the world like me. I mean, God forbid.
yeah, it's a difficult world now.
Yeah. So
It's a
I would
brutal
never
world.
fault somebody for that. They might just not, like my husband and I, we joke about a lot of it, but I always say, "Oh, did I hurt your feeling?" Because he has one singular, not plural.
Stacy, that's in her family. That's what she does.
Oh, did I just give Stacy a line? Oh, did I hurt your feeling?
Did I hurt your feeling?
Um,
Wow.
He, he's such a strong man, and he doesn't live in a world of fear at all.
Yeah.
It's just not his thing. And I'm like, you don't understand what it's like for me to walk out of a grocery store to my vehicle. Like,
Yeah.
there's fear involved. I have to be very aware of my surroundings. I have to be aware of everything that's going on. So just walking the world differently, that's all. And I would never blame him for not being fearful. It's just not who he is. So I would not blame him from walking by something that he most likely just didn't see and certainly didn't feel.
Yeah. Now, do you know other empaths?
I have met a couple. I've had a lot of people in my world say that they're empaths. This is years ago. I'm not talking about anybody now, because they're listening. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Just teasing.
Yeah.
But I can feel right away if they are or if they're not.
You can.
Oh, absolutely.
So I had so first we want to
because
say,
people can't, sorry, really quick,
No,
they
it's fine.
can't separate being empathetic, like you said earlier,
yeah,
and being an empath. It's a totally different thing than having
Yeah.
empathy, being able to have empathy, which is great. I love that in people,
yes.
but being an empath is very different.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. So Dan writes, "Bubble of Love" sounds like an 80s rock song. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take that as a kudos. Yeah, and I don't know what.
Sorry.
What was? Oh,
I was
yeah.
trying to read.
And then my wife likes the idea of did I hurt your feeling?
You're welcome.
So I don't know if I have a friend, a family member actually that was a Gemini and a creative, a man, and life was going along, rough childhood, the whole bit, and he saw a child get hit by a car, and he runs over and he's holding the child as the child passes. It's like a 10-year-old boy or something, and ever since then, he's been an empath.
Wow.
Like, and he didn't, and he had to deal with this thing. Like, so he thinks, so his interpretation of it was that like this event, no matter how it happened, whatever it was that happened to him, it changed him in a way where he was forever going forward an empath, and he didn't know. It took him a long time to figure it out, just like yourself, where you got upset.
Because it's not about us.
Yeah. And
So
but when you're angry and you're like, why am I angry?
Right.
And you're like, oh, because the world is angry around me or whatever it was. So, and this is a guy who's a performer, he's like a singer, and and he had to begin to navigate. So the world, and the guy at the time, he was probably, I remember, what is he now? It's just had to be 15 years ago. So he's probably getting close to like 55-ish now. So he was like 40, let's say late 30s, early 40s. And the world changed for him in an empath way. And now you can't ignore your surroundings.
Yeah.
And I remember one time I was in a room with him before we had the conversation where he told me, and we were in this room and there was a little bit of tension, and he just walked right out of the room. I was like, where'd he go? Like, what's his
Yeah.
problem? You know, right? And then it took him a couple of minutes and he came back in and the tension was gone in the room.
Mhm.
And he came back in and he just went, you know. And I actually admired it. I looked and I was like, oh, that's a great way to handle that situation that just
Mhm.
happened, right? Because he wasn't in it involved when it,
Right.
you know, there was tension between two other people. It was not that big a deal.
Right.
But he just walked out of the room. He just
Yeah.
said, oh, whatever, you guys, and he walked out,
Yeah.
you know. Whereas the rest of us, we want to see the train wreck, right? We want to
Mhm.
see who wins, or we want to, you know, we want
Yeah.
to see the, right? If it bleeds, it leads, right? So we're waiting for blood. And then, you know, getting to know him over the years and, you know, you start, when it comes from a man, you wonder if they're effeminate, you know what I mean? You're like, this is a feminine characteristic almost, you know, like, yeah, because like you said, like you know, oh, did I hurt your feeling? You know what I mean, and then all of a sudden you're dealing with a man
Yeah.
who's
Feeling,
funneling
yeah.
all the feelings around him, right?
Mhm.
So it's difficult for the man, and then it's difficult for the rest of us around that person, you know, like what's going on with, you know, Bob over here, you know, like,
Yeah.
But then ultimately he wound up, you know, being able to figure it out and express it and then talk about it. Especially the incident that incited it, you know, because
Mhm.
he said it was a very clear difference, you know, before that incident happened where he was went through this death scenario with this child.
That's awful.
It changed him forever,
Yeah.
but you know, it gave him a gift that he had to learn how to use, you know. But he's I don't want to say that he's isolated now, but he's careful.
He's protecting
He's
himself.
very careful.
Mhm.
Whereas you found it to be, we got 1 more minute. You have anything?
I just wonder if you were wondering what I was thinking.
Well, I am wondering what you're thinking, Dean. What are you thinking? You just cruised by to shut it down?
Huh?
To shut it down, or you had something to add? Dean, do you think you're empathetic?
Oh, wow, that's a loaded question.
Well,
No,
I don't
it's
think you're an
not.
empath, but do you think you're empathetic? You're the other guy laughing. You're not?
Uh,
That was a chuckle.
All right.
Empathetic, huh?
well,
I do love Dean, boy. Dean is a one of a kind, girl.
I love
Ooh,
it.
Dean. What'd you think of the cookie, Dean? The cookie was good?
Do we have any?
We got any
Comments or
more questions?
Yes,
Before
those
we
are great
wap it up?
cookies.
They were great cookies, right?
Yes.
Oh,
All right, so quick, give us.
Yes.
We have 2 more minutes. What you never really answered the 5-year.
the 5-year question.
You never really answered it. Where
Well,
are we
didn't
going to
even
see
really
you
get,
next?
So I'm loving producing
Yeah,
and producing content, even in my short films that have a message.
yeah,
So I just, my script was selected for OIF,
yeah.
for the Orlando Independent Filmmakers Challenge. And we are just wrapping up the editing now. And even that film has a message. Anything I ever produce will be something that will put hopefully some good into the world, no matter in what capacity, even if, like we said, it affects one person or,
Yeah.
you know, hopefully more. But so producing these types of films is something that I really enjoy
Yeah.
and would love to continue to do. So I would love to continue to do the shows.
What's the name of that film?
So this one's called Genes, but genes as in like the genes in your body, like
Like genealogy. Yeah.
Genealogy, correct.
Okay.
So-
And then, Gad, you'd love to do what? You're going to continue with your other shows?
I would like to once it's a little safer to be, you
Yeah.
know, around people and have so many people on set, somebody with a disability on set, those kinds of things, and we're able to get back into Full Sail. I would love to resume Bake With Me and resume Chat With Me probably at the beginning of the next calendar year. In January, we'll probably resume Chat With Me because we can do something like this, but a little plexiglass and
Yeah.
just have, you know, the one-on-one conversation, and continue to produce movies. I love it. I love it.
I hope that all of that works out for you. I really do. I'm so happy you came on. And I find you inspirational, and I'm glad to understand you a little bit better now and know a little bit of what makes you tick. And if you ever need anything, dear, just reach out.
Thank you.
All right.
I need a dog groomer.
You do? What kind of dogs do you have? I didn't know that.
I
Oh, we did talk about
We
your
did
dogs.
talk
though.
about it, yeah.
You
I
even
have
showed me
a-
the pictures.
I have a mini Aussie
Yeah.
and a German Shepherd Dobie mix.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
saw the pictures of them. And what part of town you live in?
Winter Park, but on the cusp of like Castleberry, Oviedo, Winter Springs. Like I'm literally
Oh, you're all the way
By,
up in the
like-
top west corner, top east corner.
like Dodd and Redbug area.
Oh, you're all the way up by Redbug. Yeah, I can't say I'm over there often enough, but like my regular, but I'll do it. I'll come over and see you. It's not a
Woo!
problem.
You guys
It's
heard
not
it.
a problem.
It's on. It's recorded.
Oh my God. All right. We're gonna leave now and jump in the refrigerator.
Yes, it's you're schwitzing.
I'm
Oh
like,
my
woo!
gosh. Well,
But
I want to say one thing before we wrap up. Is
Go
that
ahead.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
of
of what
course.
you were saying earlier and the whole political nature and things that everybody has gone through. I live in a world where my intent is love, right?
yes,
So if my intention is always to put love and kindness into the world, regardless of people who have upset you for whatever reason or whatever, we can't. We have to still love. We still have to be kind. It doesn't mean we have to agree, but if I can leave anybody a message today, it's to just live with that intent to understand and to be kind. Other than that, if it upsets you in any way or impacts you in a way, then certainly then don't let it into your world. That's fine. But to be angry at people for a response to something that meant a lot to them, it doesn't make sense for you or for them. So just live with that peace within yourself.
I think that yeah, I'm gonna leave that there.
Leave it.
I'm gonna leave that right there. I think you're a lovely individual. I'm so very happy that you came on the show. Thank you so very much.
Thanks for having me.
And you're always welcome. We'll see if we can get you back on. And
when
and,
Dan's here,
when
and we
Dan
are
is
totally.
here, and you have a
I
rhyme
am
off.
challenging you on
Dan said you were great.
camera.
Dan said like, yo, she's good. She's got it. She's
Thanks,
got it.
Dan.
All right, cool.
All
Thank
right.
you all.
Thank you so much
Have
for
a good
watching.
one.